Hey, this is Timo from onlinebuilderguy.com, and today I'm going to show you how to work with Elementor Form widget. Now, what used to be the case before Elementor came into play was that when I started building websites and I wanted to have a contact form, I had to install a separate WordPress plugin in order to achieve that functionality on my website. But since I have Elementor Pro, I can very easily create a form into my website with Elementor Pro's form widget. So yes, you are going to need Elementor Pro to use this functionality, but I would say that upgrading to Elementor Pro is really worth it. You should definitely consider it. And since this video is focusing on Elementor Pro, you will have to have a copy of that on your website if you want to follow this tutorial. Okay, so I have now opened a very simple and ugly looking page on my Elementor editor. And when you navigate to the left, under the Pro section, you have Form widget. So just drag this form widget onto the design area like this, and you will have a very basic form. It has three fields: name, email, and message. And I think that for majority of people, this type of form is a very suitable contact form. So you have all the basic information there. You have the visitor's name, the email address, and then a message. But let's go through each of these sections here on the left, because this is how you basically defined the form. And then at the end of configuring the form, I'm going to send an email, so you will see how the email is going to look like. So let's get started. So first, when you activate the form, you will see all these different form settings here on the left, and under the form fields you can basically define the fields that you want to have on your form. So if I would be thinking that, okay, so I would like to have some additional fields on this form. So just click the Add Item button here on the left, and when you do that, you will see that this new form field is being added to your form. But then at the same time, when you click the cross icon here, you can remove the field, and you can pretty much move these fields how you like. I think that the original setting where you have the name and the email and then the message is the proper type of order that I would like to follow on my form. So let's just keep this setting as it is. Then what you can do next is that you can set different form fields and set them as required. Now this is very important. You want to have a form, a contact form, which clearly indicates the fields that are required. So for instance, if I click the required mark, actually, let me just do something before I click the required mark, because something else needs to be done first. Let's say that I would like to have all the fields marked as required. So how would I do that? So when I click any of these form fields here on the left, I can basically define that the required option is turned on. It's by default turned off, but when I click that, you see that the required is now turned on. So the name field is required. And let me just do this very same setting for the rest of these fields. Yes, the email is required and the message is also required. So all the form fields are now required. So when you click on any of these individual form fields, then you can fine-tune the settings even further. You can set the label name here, like the label text here, which in this case is name, that you can see here, and the placeholder is basically the text that is shown on the form field. It's just a usability thing, and it makes filling up the form maybe a little bit easier. And then when you go to the advanced settings, you have different shortcode settings that you can take advantage of. You can set the ID of the field, but I think that for this demonstration we do not have to worry about these settings at all. Okay, so once all the fields are set as required, now when I click the required mark here at the bottom, so you will see that this red star comes next to the label. So it means basically that all these fields which have a red star, they are basically required. And it's a great indication for anyone that, hey, if you want to submit this form, you will have to enter values into these form fields. Okay, so let's move on. What happens next is that you have submit button, what you have here at the bottom, this green one, and then you can, for instance, change the text of the submit button, the size, you know, other sizing related information, the alignment. Maybe I would like to change this as to submit. It's really up to you how you would like to change the naming of the button. It's really up to you, but let's just change that to submit. And then moving on, you have actions after submit. Now this section basically defines the setting over here. So let me just show you what I mean. When you click this form field on the left, you have various options to choose from. So let's say that if I chose MailChimp, let me just close this one. If I chose MailChimp as my add action option, so it would mean that this section under actions after submit has now changed into MailChimp, and then I can set different options related to MailChimp. But in this particular case, since we are dealing with email, I'm actually sending the contact form information into my email inbox. So let me just put back the email like this, and you can see that the email setting became active under actions after submit. So you can basically define what happens once you have submitted a form, what happens next. And when I go to the email section here on the left, so I can basically define different types of options here. So what are these options then? Well, here I can define who is going to be the receiver of this email message. So let me just enter my email address here. Okay. Now the subject is the subject of the email, but to keep things simple and clear, let's say that this would be a contact. Let's put it like this: message from the contact form. Yeah. Just try to have a subject which you recognize very easily, because otherwise you may be wondering, what is this email about? What is this email that I just got into my inbox? Is it a spam or what is it? So try to make sure that you recognize very easily that, hey, this is the email that I got from someone who submitted a contact form on my website. Make the subject easily recognizable. That's my advice to you. Then you can define what's in your message, what information is contained in your message. Just leave the all fields here as it is. It basically submits all the information that a visitor enters here on the form. Then you can define who is going to be the sender of the email. Now, for instance, if you have a Gmail account, you can use it here. But once again, my advice to you is that please use an email that you recognize very easily, that you do not consider that, hey, someone is spamming me, let's just delete this message. So try to have an email address that you recognize very easily. So let me just enter my Gmail account here. Guy at gmail.com. And from name is also something that should be very easy to recognize. Let me put it like this. Online builder guy. Great. And I wouldn't worry with the metadata here. I guess for this demonstration, maybe a more important information is to choose in which format you want to receive the email. Is it HTML or is it just plain text? I like HTML, so I leave that setting as it is. And that's all there is to it when it comes to this email section. Now, additional options, you have the form ID. Let's not do anything about that. But when you turn on the custom messages section here, you can define different messages that the visitor sees after the form has been submitted. So for instance, the success message means that once the form has been submitted successfully, this very message, the form was sent successfully, it is basically shown under the form. So it indicates that, hey, you entered something on the form, you submitted the information, and the submission was successful. Then on the other hand, if you have required fields, for instance, if I was about to submit this contact form without, for instance, entering anything here on the name field, so I would get an information or a message saying this field is required. And then you have error message and invalid message. I'm not actually 100% sure when these messages are shown. I'm guessing that they are somewhat related to the web server, and if something goes wrong, you are getting these messages, but I could be wrong. And if you have any further information, please leave comments under this video to correct me. I'm always happy to learn more about Elementor Pro and how it behaves. But I think this is pretty much it. We have defined a contact form. It's a very simple one, and obviously you could tweak it any further if you wanted to, but this is enough for this demonstration. Let me just click update, and everything should be ready right now. So when I go to the, let's just go back to my dashboard, contact form demo, and let me just go to all posts, and let me just click view and open it in another tab, and I have this fancy looking contact form demo live on my website. Now if I enter my name here, let's just enter Timo, and let me just enter my email, and this is a test. Now when I click submit, you will see this message: the form was sent successfully. Now, what will happen next is that depending on your internet connection, depending on well, on the connection speed, I guess, and I'm not so sure about how many hops and how many roads your email has to take until it lands into your inbox, but it might take a while until you see anything in your inbox. So I think that I will pause the video for now, and let's just continue once I have received the email from this contact form. Hey, I'm back, and I just received the email. So when you log into your email account, so you will see the name that you displayed on the settings, Online Builder Guy in my case, and this is the subject line of the contact form message. And when I click the message, I will see the information that I basically entered on the form. So this is a test, and here's my email address and my name. And you will also see some other technical information related to the email message. But yeah, this is pretty much it. This is how you create a simple contact form, and this is how you send an email to your email inbox. It's as simple as that, and you do not have to install a separate plugin in order to achieve this functionality. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will get back to you with another video. Bye bye.